Well, hi everybody. Thank you so much for being here today, really. The sun's still out. We've got until 8 o'clock before we can say tonight. But thanks so much for coming and being here at Metro Hall with us. My name is Denise. My last name is long and obnoxious, Sweet Dan O'Leary, but you'll never need to use it. And I'm going to be your moderator today. I'm here from a company called Laura. We're a third-party moderator firm, and we've been obtained to do the facilitation for today. I have two colleagues that are over in the corner. They'll be taking notes, so anything that you say will be recorded by us so that we can give your feedback back to Wheel-Trans later in this process after the first two sessions. I'm going to begin by just acknowledging the place that we're in. We acknowledge that the land we're meeting on today is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat, and is also now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations. So thanks so much for being here today. There's lots of you here. And we want to welcome you here, and we also have people who are participating virtually as well. So you're all here, and then there's folks who are online who will be joining us. This is the first of two hybrid sessions, one today and then one on Thursday. And the TTC wants to receive your feedback on the Family of Services program. So also called FOS, you'll hear both Family of Services and FOS used today. And we want to be able to hear what you have to say so that we can start to address the concerns regarding the FOS system. And the second in-person consultation, like I said, will be Thursday afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m., also at this venue and also online. So if you'd like to join that one, you're welcome to as well. As I said, at the end of both of these consultation sessions, myself and my colleagues will be preparing a comprehensive report, recording everything that you've said to us today and on Thursday. And that report will guide the decision-making process for accessible transit at the TTC. So the more that you can share with us, the better. The more questions and the more concerns and the more feedback that you can give us today, the more that we can integrate that feedback into the Wheel-Trans services. In addition to the hybrid public consultations, you can also share your thoughts and feedback with us online. There's a Wheel-Trans customer feedback survey, which is available on the TTC website, ttc.ca, and that'll be open until April 30th, and we'll remind you about that later in the afternoon. The presentation and the discussion today will be closed captioned and also ASL interpreted, as you can see. And we encourage all speakers, myself included, to just slow down and allow some time for interpretation. I'd like to invite the TTC Board Chair, Jamal Myers, to share a few words with us. Thanks so much, Councillor Myers. So the purpose of today, as you just heard, is that we really want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear your questions. We want to hear your ideas. All of those things are welcome here. And there's multiple ways to do that. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But if you are comfortable speaking into a mic, there will be folks who are walking around the room. And if you raise your hand, the mic will come to you and you can speak into it. If you would like to write down your question rather than speaking it out loud, there are folks who have blue cards and they can bring them around to you and you can write down your question and they will be read out for you. And then for folks online, if you write your questions in the chat function, there will be somebody here that will read out your questions for you. So there's multiple ways to do that. And then on top of that, if you would rather just listen today and process a little bit and then put your questions and your thoughts in the survey online, we'll give you that website at the end of today as well. So responding to your questions and comments today will be a TTC panel, including Cameron Penman, the head of Wheel-Trans. Angela Marley, who will be sitting to my right, is currently delayed. She will be with us shortly, and we'll just sort of sneak her in and introduce her once she gets here. And then we also have Dean Milton, Manager of Strategic Initiatives with Wheel-Trans. So I'm going to invite, we're going to have a bit of a presentation up front so that we're all on the same page about what Family of Services is and what we're all here to talk about today. And so I'm going to invite Cameron Penman to share a few words, followed by a Wheel-Trans presentation by Dean and Angela if she's here. And then following the presentation, we will get into the question and answer period. So if you've got some questions during the presentation, you want to raise your hand and get a question card, you're welcome to do that. And then we'll start the questions after the presentation. So, over to you.
Thank you, Denise. So as Denise mentioned, my name is Cameron Penman and I'm the head of Wheel-Trans. And it's my pleasure to be here today with Dean and soon to be Angela and several of our Wheel-Trans staff are here as well. And it's great to be here. We've done a lot in this 10-year program that we are now 7.5 years through, transforming the Wheel-Trans business. And we've done a lot in the way of improving accessibility, and the accessibility to the conventional transit system. But there's still a lot of exciting work to do. We always value public engagement with our customers and the feedback we receive. And evidence of that is the Wheel-Trans customer satisfaction survey that we run once a year. The TTC also holds an annual public forum on accessible transit, which I think many of you here today and online probably attended, and we encourage you to attend in the future. At this consultation, we're very happy that we are here to be able to speak to and hear from you, specifically focusing on the Family of Services travel model and the accessibility and use of the TTC's conventional system. As Denise mentioned, Angela Marley, unfortunately, is late, but I'm glad that she will be here joining us shortly. She's a dedicated advocate for accessible transit, and she has been a veteran of the TTC's Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit for years. She's put in a lot of effort over the years to improve the accessibility at the TTC. And to my right, Dean Milton, our Manager of Strategic Initiatives, has worked very hard himself and his team on the Family of Services model and that program and various other improvements to our service over the past several years. And he is the perfect person to lead you through this presentation that we have for you today. So without further delay, Dean, over to you.
Thank you, Cameron. Can everybody hear me all right? I'm assuming. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dean Milton, and I am the Manager of Strategic Initiatives at Wheel-Trans. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon, along with my fellow panel members and other staff from Wheel-Trans and the TTC. I'd also like to thank the TTC Chair, Jamal Myers, for his comments and for initiating these very important customer and stakeholder consultations to discuss the TTC's family of services. In addition to the 2 meetings that have been organized in person and live stream, and I think it was mentioned earlier, a survey has been developed to capture customer and stakeholder comments and opinions. It's available on the TTC's website, the Wheel-Trans online booking site, and for those who prefer to speak to someone, they can call customer service at 416-393-4111, and the survey will remain open until the end of the month. I'd just like to everybody to know that already close to 750 surveys have been completed, and people have been submitting their opinions, so I certainly encourage you to do so. So our mission at Wheel-Trans is to support the community by offering barrier-free, accessible service that is efficient, reliable, and available. And our vision is to strive for dignity, spontaneity, fairness, and freedom of travel for all customers. Back on January 1st, 2017, eligibility requirements expanded from a service that only provided service for functional physical disabilities. And of course, now our service is in place for all disabilities, whether they're physical, mental health, sensory, and cognitive, in accordance with the AODA, Accessibilities for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, and the legislative changes. So as it stands right now, we have approximately a customer base of close to 38,000 customers. This is the part where Angela, unfortunately, as mentioned, is running late. And of course, Angela is an important member of the advisory committee, has been a long-serving member as well, many different terms. But I'll try and do my best to just go over some of the key points of the advisory committee and some of the great work that they do. So of course, the advisory committee represents the needs and concerns of TTC customers with disabilities as well as seniors. And their main role is to advise the TTC board and TTC staff. They consist of 15 members and up to 4 pool members, and the pool members also participate in the subcommittee discussions. And as I mentioned, we have 4 subcommittees, and we're just going to go over those committees a little bit. One of our committees, the Communications Subcommittee, discusses topics important to customers such as signage, wayfinding, elevator intercoms, and of course the newsletters and any other customer-facing material that gets sent out to our customers. We also have a Design Review Subcommittee, and this committee discusses topics such as the new accessible entrance at condo developments, new bus designs, and stair handrail redesigns, to name a few. We also have a Service Planning Subcommittee who discusses topics such as evacuation procedures, service plans, and operator training. And of course, we have a Wheel-Trans Subcommittee, and we discuss topics most recently such as the new mobile app that was launched, as well as our initiatives surrounding re-registration. So some of the key accomplishments, we talked about the subcommittees, but some of the key accomplishments discussed by ACAT in 2023 included a digital welcome package, and ACAT was instrumental in introducing the new digital welcome package for new Wheel-Trans customers. New customers now have the option of receiving a physical or an electronic welcome package. Re-registration. ACAT offered recommendations on how Wheel-Trans could best implement re-registration. And as a result, in 2023, and we'll talk about it a little bit further in the meeting, we have successfully re-registered over 5,000 customers just in 2023 alone. The mobile application. So Wheel-Trans continues to work with ACAT as well as other members of the public and Wheel-Trans customers to improve the Wheel-Trans mobile application. And very important and integral to the eligibility process is the Wheel-Trans appeals. And ACAT recommended potential improvements to the appeals process. As well, a member of ACAT sits on the appeal panel to listen to our customers' concerns. So the purpose of the public consultations today and Thursday. On February 22nd, 2024, the TTC board adopted the following request from City Council based on the motions put forward from the Toronto Accessibility Advisory Committee to engage in consultations with ACAT, people with disabilities, and community-based organizations that provide support services for people with disabilities prior to the implementation of the Wheel-Trans Transformation Program elements that would require the use of the Family of Services program. Such consultations will inform any potential changes to the design and implementation of the program to address concerns around safety, equity, mitigating the impacts of service disruptions within the conventional transit system on the Family of Services customers, and the impact of TTC crowding as service demand increases and the number of people with accessibility needs grow. The TTC remains one of the safest transit systems in the world. As your safety partners, we want customers to know how we're making the TTC even safer. Our operators, station collectors, special constables, and supervisory personnel are always prepared to assist you. In January 2023, the City of Toronto and the TTC partnered with the Toronto Police Service and community service providers to improve community safety and well-being on the transit system. In September 2023, the TTC vastly enhanced the visible presence of staff throughout the system by hiring 130 service agents and 30 supervisors at key subway stations and on the bus and streetcar networks. This multidisciplinary approach balances safety, security, and compassion to ensure that immediate safety risks are addressed and mitigated and that people in need are connected with support. Based on recent customer feedback surveys, the level of customer satisfaction with personal safety on the TTC sits at around 60%. Since October 2023, customer satisfaction with safety on the TTC has increased by 7 points to 61%, with overall satisfaction among subway users up 5 points to 71%. The rate of offenses against customers decreased by 10% across the system, and since January 2023, the rate of offenses against customers has shown an overall decline of 24%. Since October, 69% of customers reported receiving assistance easily when needed, and that marks a 5-point improvement. Additionally, satisfaction with staff helpfulness has risen by 6 points to 65%. It's important to note that every month the TTC surveys approximately 500 customers, measuring overall satisfaction levels across all modes on specific aspects such as safety, comfort, cleanliness, staff helpfulness, information, and ease of use. These findings are published monthly in the TTC CEO report and presented to the TTC board. In January 2024, the number of reported offenses committed against TTC's customers was 1.83 per 1 million boardings. The number of safety-related calls received by the TTC that were not actually related to criminal activities was approximately 983. The number of wellness checks conducted by TTC safety ambassadors in January 2024 was approximately 2,059. And this includes checks on individuals experiencing homelessness and other complex needs. This helps to build rapport with community members and helps connect them to Streets to Home programs. The goal of the Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy is to help make the TTC more accessible, equitable, inclusive, and sustainable for existing and future customers. In accordance with the Integrated Accessibility Standards Regulation, the IASR, and under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, the AODA, Wheel-Trans service and eligibility criteria have been expanded to include any person who has a disability that prevents them from consistently using conventional transit for all or part of their trip. The Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy was first approved by the TTC board in November 2016 and by City Council in February 2017. And these changes were required, as we mentioned, to address legislative changes under the AODA, as well as to modernize the safety delivery model, keeping in line with other GTHA transit agencies and industry standards. And we want to be able to provide our customers with spontaneity and on-demand service. But it's important to note that both in 2023 and so far this year in 2024, there have been no new service changes. Re-registration, in fact, has been ongoing with Wheel-Trans since 2017. As per the legislative requirements under the AODA, as of January 1st, 2017, every specialized transportation service provider, including Wheel-Trans, shall have 3 categories of eligibility. The first, a person with a disability that prevents them from using conventional transportation services shall be categorized as having unconditional eligibility. The next, a person with a temporary disability that prevents them from using conventional transportation services shall be categorized as having temporary eligibility. A person and the third one is a person with a disability where environmental or physical barriers limit their ability to consistently use conventional transportation services, and they shall be categorized as having conditional eligibility. In order to ensure that Wheel-Trans eligibility is equitable to all, both new customers and legacy customers, those who registered prior to January 1st, 2017, must be assessed using the same criteria. The next slide shows the active Wheel-Trans customer base eligibility breakdown as it exists today. And currently, 48% of our active customers have unconditional eligibility. 42% have conditional eligibility with varying conditions, multiple conditions in many cases. And 10% of our customers have temporary disability. Once again, it's important to note that since 2017, all Wheel-Trans customers can request and receive door-to-door service regardless of their eligibility status, as the family of service continues to be optional to all. Stakeholder and customer consultations began in 2016 and has helped to shape all aspects of the Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy before its actual implementation starting in 2017. These critical consultations involved over 40 organizations and stakeholders, government agencies, the legal community, and of course, ACAT and Wheel-Trans customers and members of the public. Wheel-Trans ensures that all strategy and policy changes, the purchasing of new vehicles, communication efforts, and technology upgrades are always first vetted through our advisory committee, ACAT. We continue to provide annual updates to the TTC board and are always open to discussions on the 10-year strategy, family of services, with external stakeholders, and of course, with our customers. In 2023, additional efforts were put forward to encourage our legacy customers, Wheel-Trans customers, to re-register if they hadn't already. And these efforts included personal letters being mailed to Wheel-Trans customers, reminding them about re-registration. Similarly, we did that by email. Information, of course, that's published on the Wheel-Trans self-booking website. Articles published in the Wheel-Trans Access newsletters. Reminders by our reservation staff when customers call the Wheel-Trans reservation line. And of course, an information banner that pops up when the customer logs into the Wheel-Trans self-booking website. And this banner reads, "Our records indicate that you have not re-registered for Wheel-Trans service," as an additional reminder. Since 2017, over 14,000 customers have voluntarily re-registered, and about 9,000 of them are still active. And that's close to 70% of all our legacy customers have re-registered, which is quite amazing. Over the next few years, Wheel-Trans will continue to engage with the remaining 4,500 customers to encourage them to submit an application for re-registration. It's important to note again that all customers will continue to have uninterrupted Wheel-Trans door-to-door service during this period and for the foreseeable future. The next slide focuses on some concerns about crowding. Wheel-Trans understands that some of our customers are concerned about crowding on the conventional system and how it might impact their family of services travel. The TTC's service planning team monitors crowding levels and service performance on a regular basis to ensure that service operates as scheduled and within the TTC board-approved crowding standards. TTC staff is constantly reviewing suggestions and complaints from customers. This is a source of additional information for adjusting service with respect to the intervals between vehicles, which are the start and finish times, and other service details. Service is adjusted every 4 to 6 weeks to address any observed issues. Each operating division at the TTC is constantly measuring and monitoring service reliability and operations, which is used to improve service on the TTC. These results are based on the real-life, day-to-day observations of operating staff and the input they receive from our customers. The TTC is also planning to implement improvements to regular service in spring 2024, as approved in our 2024 service budget. This will result in improved service frequency and reduced crowding on many routes, addressing gaps in our 10-minute network, updating schedules to reflect operating conditions, and improving service reliability. A second series of budgeted service improvements is being planned for the fall of this year. In tandem with this, we are in the process of resuming off-peak crowding standards, which will ensure that more room is available on board during these off-peak periods. The TTC also has a policy to accommodate customers traveling on buses with mobility devices. If the bus arrives and it's too crowded, the operator will contact Transit Control to determine if the next buses to arrive can indeed accommodate that customer. If they cannot, Wheel-Trans will be contacted to accommodate that customer. The TTC is also aware of how important service reliability is to all customers and those that travel on the family of services. The on-time performance of a route is affected by many variables, including traffic congestion, traffic incidents, construction-related delays, and of course, weather. TTC's goal is to have 90% of all trips depart on time. So focusing on this chart, we see that with respect to our subway service on lines 1, 2, and 4, we are either at our expected 90% or very close to it, 89.9, or we're surpassing that. With respect to streetcars and buses, streetcars at 65 and buses at 83%, there's still some work to be done. It's also important to bring forward the fact that the TTC provides approximately 1.3 million rides per weekday. In 2023, revenue rise on the TTC totaled $396 million, which was 74% of our pre-COVID ridership. With respect to service disruptions on the TTC subways, in 2023, there were 435 delays in total of over 20 minutes, and there were 209 delays that were for over 30 minutes. And the most common causes of delays are disorderly patrons, injured or ill customers, security-related issues, passengers pushing the assistance alarm when there's no trouble found, and injured or ill customers where medical is offered but is refused. Looking at buses and streetcars, in 2023, we had 38 incidents that required a diversion of buses, and there were about 1,100 incidents that required a diversion of our streetcars. The reasons for these diversions are quite common on both buses and streetcars: third-party activities such as fire, police, and construction, collision and property damage, disorderly patrons, unsanitary vehicles are the major causes for service disruptions. What is important for our customers that are traveling on the family of services to know is that we have processes and procedures already in place to deal with the service delays or at least to reduce their impact. The Wheel-Trans scheduling system builds in time to allow for customers to make the necessary transfers to avoid receiving no-shows. Wheel-Trans dispatchers receive notifications about all service issues and delays on the conventional TTC, and that would also include elevator outages. They are trained to reschedule FOS trips to avoid the routes or subway stations where service disruptions are occurring. They're also trained to contact the customer to make them aware of any changes to their family of services trip. And if the delays are significant, they actually convert the FOS trips into door-to-door trips. If the service disruption results in a customer actually missing their FOS connection or receiving a no-show, much the same as with the door-to-door services, customers can contact the priority line to schedule another trip. If a customer doesn't have a phone, they can alert TTC staff to contact Transit Control, and Transit Control will contact Wheel-Trans on their behalf. Family of services. A key pillar of the Wheel-Trans 10-year transformation strategy is, of course, the family of services. Since 2017, conditionally eligible Wheel-Trans customers have been given the option to travel FOS, connecting their Wheel-Trans service to conventional buses, streetcars, and subway. The family of services delivery model introduces equity into how services are being offered to our customers. If a customer with conditional eligibility is traveling when none of their disability conditions are present, they will be offered an FOS trip solution. At this time, FOS travel is optional, and of course, all customers can still request to travel door to door. The next slide is a flow chart that depicts how a FOS trip might work. A customer could be picked up by Wheel-Trans at their home and dropped off at an accessible bus stop or subway station. The customer boards the accessible TTC vehicle and is dropped off at another accessible bus stop or subway station. And from there, the customer is brought to their final destination by Wheel-Trans, and the customer arrives at their destination. That's an example. The introduction of FOS has created shorter trip options for Wheel-Trans customers. Previously, the average Wheel-Trans trip was approximately 17 kilometers, and now it's just under 10 kilometers. FOS allows increased trip availability to meet customer demand for spontaneous travel. And in 2023, a customer survey conducted by Forum Research indicates that 31% of Wheel-Trans customers voluntarily use the conventional TTC regularly, which is tremendous news. This slide talks a little bit about our demand. Demand for FOS travel continues to grow, with over 900,000 trips delivered in 2023, and that's an almost 50% trips increase versus 2022. Wheel-Trans customers that travel completely on the conventional TTC without Wheel-Trans accounted for close to 95% of these total trips. And again, this is very encouraging, and certainly it speaks to some of the improvements in accessibility with the TTC. Wheel-Trans has implemented a number of different initiatives to assist customers who are transitioning to traveling family of services. And we'll go through the next couple of slides showing you some. Wheel-Trans connects customers to over 70 accessible TTC bus and streetcar routes and stations, and at 500 different accessible stops that have shelters and benches across the city. A family of services routes have stop poles to mark what the shared Wheel-Trans stops look like, and these stop poles have a blue no-show board attached directly to the pole, as depicted in this picture. Wheel-Trans customers who opt to travel using family of services will have their trips monitored for service delays and emergencies by Wheel-Trans dispatch. Travel training. It's a free program for all Wheel-Trans customers who wish to travel on conventional transit. In 2023, over 100 customers participated in travel training, and we have completed nearly 700 travel training sessions since 2017. The objective of travel training is simple. We want to support and familiarize our customers with traveling on the conventional system using FOS. Customers will receive orientation and navigation assistance by our travel trainers, and we offer different types of travel training. One-on-one route training, virtual and phone training for some, station and vehicle orientations, fixed route training, and of course customizing the training needs based on an individual and what they want and what they need. Our two travel trainers, I saw them earlier, Arlen and Victoria, are here at the public consultation today. And they can also be reached at any time by emailing traveltraining@ttc.ca or by calling our number at 416-472-2393. We also have produced a very comprehensive FOS handbook, which again is available to all customers, and it is sent out to newly conditionally eligible customers who come on board as an introduction to what family of services is all about. We're very proud to state that in 2021, an FOS instructional video was also created. And this FOS video is an accessible tool that visually demonstrates to customers how to identify Wheel-Trans transfer stops, how to use accessible fare gates and elevators at stations, and how to safely board and exit conventional buses, streetcars, and subways. In order to be responsive to our ever-changing customer needs, it's essential that the 10-year strategy focus on modernizing the service delivery model in accordance with AODA and to remove barriers to transit by improving accessibility on conventional transit. The Wheel-Trans scheduling system can automatically schedule trips based on a customer's eligibility and conditions, and we have introduced a mobile app to complement online booking, which allows our customers now to traveling by Wheel-Trans bus to track when their vehicle will arrive. Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy and FOS model aims to improve partnerships with our regional transit providers in York, Durham, and Peel region to facilitate a consistent customer experience and operational opportunities across the GTHA. We want to embrace ACAT, the community and stakeholder engagement, and we want to foster culture change for a committed Wheel-Trans workforce. And of course, we want to be able to deliver a fiscally responsible and transparent business that delivers services in a viable manner. Modernization of the Wheel-Trans scheduling software and improvements to our contact center have resulted in improved call response times, reduced call waiting times, improved on-time delivery of service. We talked about the mobile app, increased on-demand service availability, and the ability to provide spontaneous and equitable service which meets customers' eligibility criteria. And that concludes our presentation for tonight. And I'd like to thank everybody very much for allowing us to get through these slides. And we will now listen to our customers and stakeholder feedback and questions to address concerns about the TTC's family of services. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dean. Thank you. There's a few questions, there's a few comment cards in the air. Yep, I see your... Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of information, a reminder about how to ask a question, and then I'll tell you to put your hands up. So don't make your hands tired, but I see some hands over here. If you would like a blue comment card, if you would like to fill out a blue comment card, can you raise your hand? Because we have a few folks who could bring you a blue comment card. And we also have mic runners. Where are our mic people? Okay, so we've got one mic runner over here, so they will bring you a mic. So if you would like a blue comment card, we've got one person over here and one person over here. Okay, so we'll get you some blue comment cards. So there's, like I said, there's multiple ways. You can write your comments on a comment card and we will read them out to have your questions answered. You can raise your hand and a mic will be brought to you. And if you're online, please use the chat function and enter your question in the chat. And after a couple of live questions, we'll see what's happening on the online chat as well, and we'll read those out live. So thank you so much. And if you have a question or if you have a blue card, you can raise that in the air and we'll come to you. So it looks like there's some questions over here. We'll start down here at the front. And there's a mic is coming towards you. So I'm going to start with you. I saw your hand first, and then right next to you, and then the two behind you.
Yes, my two little problems with family of services. First of all, my trip last week was taking me home in the evening from a concert, a fundraising concert, and it had me going way north of where I wanted to be, but on the fifth change, like first someone picked me up, dropped me at the subway. I had to take a subway north, then get on a bus that went north of my place, and then I had to get off the bus at some street near Don Mills and Lawrence, and there I would look for a Wheel-Trans to pick me up. Now, it was midnight when that was planned, which I don't think Family of Services should run after in the dark, because as an 80-year-old with a handicap, I don't feel able to fight off any untowards attention. And my other mention would be about using Union Station as a transfer spot, because when I did the testing last year, I found that that was, first of all, hard to get to, and then there are so many cars and so many people outside Union Station on the front street that you could hardly find your vehicle, let alone get to it. And I think those are my two. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll turn it over to you to answer.
I have that question, and thank you, Jane, for your feedback. And certainly, one of the things that we are aware of is the fact that the system and the scheduling, from time to time, does need to be, the parameters need to be changed. And in order for us to do that, we rely heavily on customer feedback, such as Jane's, to sort of let us know when a route doesn't make sense. So just letting everybody know that as more individuals start to utilize the family of services, as our scheduling system becomes more responsive to the greater demand, we will be able to constantly fine-tune the algorithm so that the routing makes sense. But we are taking this seriously, and we do review family of services trips every single week to take a look to make sure that the routing does actually make sense. So we appreciate the feedback, and those comments are taken seriously, and we have over the years made some significant changes to the way the scheduling system works for FOS. The second part of the question is certainly an interesting one. For some of our customers who have a condition that allows them door-to-door service during when it's dark outside, this wouldn't be as much of a concern. But certainly, it's something we can take back. Our goal is to offer a service that's equitable to anybody traveling in the city on the TTC. And so, of course, with that being said, many of our conventional routes operate 24 hours a day. Wheel-Trans operates 24 hours a day. But if that is some good feedback as to whether or not we should look in the future at maybe stopping FOS travel at a certain time. So thank you for that. And then the last one is a prime example of how feedback can be used. Union Station, as we all know, can be a little congested and confusing at times. So we certainly allow individual customers who have said to us that this is a station that provides or at least leads to some accessibility issues, and we have the ability on their file to make sure that routing is not done through that particular station. So we do have the ability to fine-tune an individual's personal travel requests. Thank you.
want to take a second to welcome Angela, who is here with us now. Angela, as a reminder, is a member of the TTC Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit, and we're really happy that you're here.
I'm happy as well. I'm understanding this mic is working, so hopefully you're able to hear me. No?
Now you're
Is that
good.
better?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I apologize for my lateness. I had an emergency not involving me, but the person has been sent to the hospital, and she's going to be fine. But if you're going to be late, have a good reason for it. So I had the experience of Union Station just now, and I should start by saying I'm a lifelong public transit user because I don't drive a car. I ended up, short story, ended up having MS, was around age 50, and ended up gradually not being able to use a conventional system and could only use Wheel-Trans for a period of about 5 years. And then when I got my first wheelchair and got my courage up, I got really good advice from other people that I'd met through ACAT, one of whom I want to shout out to is Adam Cahoon, who said, whenever you go to start using the subway, start at a station. You live near Yonge and Finch, just go there. Don't get on the subway. Just wheel around just to see what the station is like and get familiar with it. And if for any of you that had the experience, when you start using a Wheel-Trans transit, all of the doors that you're going through feel like they're a foot wide or a half a meter wide, and you are a yard wide, that you're never going to fit. So at first it takes a lot of courage to be able to do it, and believe me, it did. But I persevered, and I got to the point where at least once a week, to this day, people who know me well or strangers will say, "You're a really good driver." And all that came through practice, 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 and it's able to pay off. I've since been involved with the advisory committee and have been the chair in 2013 and vice chair later on, and chair of subcommittees. So I'm fairly familiar with the TTC. In addition to that, I've been working and still am working on the descriptions of the stations, so that if you go on the station page, you're going to see an item there that says description. And another person on ACAT, Craig Neckel, who's totally blind, and I have been working on these station descriptions. And they were originally thought of as to be a big help for people who are blind, that they could read the information about where things are located on the station, so that when they got to the station, they would know where they are and where to go, including the features that are closest to which train on the subway track. And so we wrote them and put them on and thought, okay, let's see if these things really work. And we got feedback in ways that we never expected. We found out that even the TTC Information Center people found them helpful, because when people phone in and want to know, is there a washroom at a certain station, they could just go to the station page and say, yes, there's washroom. And if they went to the station description, it would tell them where the washroom is located. So there's a help that can be there. Yes, they continue to need to be updated, and we continue to work on that. But it is one of the features that is important for accessibility. I know firsthand about the difficulties when elevators are not working. And I know it's a huge challenge for family of services, because conventional system is not ready for the family services unless the elevators are working consistently. So that's why ACAT continues to put pressure on the TTC to get things working regularly. We are going to have an even bigger challenge, I think, when the LRT lines open, because they are going to be operated by Metrolinx. So now we're not dealing with one organization to get things operated. They're going to be operated by the TTC, but they are built and they are maintained by Metrolinx. So therefore, when things break down It means that it's not the TTC that's going to be able to fix them. The TTC is going to have to go to Metrolinx to get them fixed. So our work continues to be there in order to make family of services happen. I am a person who's been using family of services before that name came up to call it that. And that's because my preference is to use as much of the conventional system as I can. I came here today on the subway. I live close enough to Yonge and Finch that I'm able to get the subway there. And guess what? The elevator's not working at St. Andrew. And so therefore I ended up thinking, okay, I'll go to Union. Well, fine, go to Union, but I hadn't been to Union for a while. So then I have to figure out, every time you go there, it's different, and figure out how to get out to Front Street so that I can get here. But I found the TTCs very helpful, the staff, and when I asked them, they told me, you know, go up the ramp here, and so I did. In a way, I was into familiar territory. So the more you use it, the more familiar you get to be. Enough about me. If you need to know more, I'm happy to respond. ACAT is made up of 15 volunteers. These are people who have disabilities or who are working with people who have disabilities or are family members, and also made up of seniors. And we provide advice to the board of the TTC regarding the accessible transit. And the board has our attention. In fact, each month, the chair of ACAT goes to the board making a report, and a couple of the board members will often be attending the Zoom meetings with ACAT. Our monthly meetings are held on the last Thursday of the month, and you're welcome to send a deputation to the ACAT through ACAT at ttc.ca. So if you have any suggestions, please bring them forward. Often the suggestions that have come through the public forum have been every one of them is addressed and brought back to us, and some of them have been just great because they've been innovative and have been used to improve the accessible network. So it's a work in progress. We've come a long way, and we still have a distance to go, although many of us thought if we just get to 2025, everything would be done and finished. That's, as you know, that's not the case. We're not there yet. ACAT has 4 subcommittees. The Design Review Subcommittee is one that looks at all the features that are related to the design of the stations or the vehicles. So we've been looking at the new buses, the electric buses. We have monitored the station layouts for all of the new stations that are coming online, and have made comments, and at times we've convinced them, and they have been coming to us before they even designed the vehicles and stations, because the earlier that accessible features are built into them, the better it is for everyone. And not only for people who need the accessible features, but we're also finding business travelers really like the idea of being able to roll their luggage onto an elevator, as do people who are pushing strollers, even though that was not the initial mandate. Service Planning Subcommittee looks at all of the features to deal with the operation of the system, and this includes the personal support, the support person assistance card and program. It includes the features related to the people getting on, like the procedure for operators providing assistance for people to get on to the streetcars, because there are procedures for each of the things that are provided. Communications handles all of the information that's put out to customers. We'd like to have the questions from the audience. Okay, I'll end here. Goodbye.
We'll let Angela finish up, and then it's okay. Thank you so much.
More time for you.
More time for questions. Okay. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you for being here, and thank you so much for your patience as Angela just got here and had a journey to get here. We've got a question from over here, And then after that, we'll take some questions from online. And then we've got 2 questions over here, and I see 2 hands over here. Absolutely.
Okay, good evening to the board. It's nice of you to come out and hear what we have to say. I've been a Wheel-Trans customer, patient for 10 years. I'm permanent disabled, and I have ulcers, arthritis, I have carpal tunnel syndrome, I'm nearsighted. Nobody's perfect in this world, and sitting in this room facing you, we all have a problem. But the problem is the board and the people at Lakeshore and Leslie doesn't see this. You're permanent disabled, you fall on the floor, you got nobody around you, and you're there for 3-4 hours, and you get a no-show. The fire department gets you up, they take you to the hospital, make sure you got no broken bones, and they bring you home, and you phone 4222, and you try to explain to them what happened, and you ask to speak to the supervisor, and you're lucky if she even comes and says hello. Why doesn't the board at Leslie and Lakeshore take and mail out an application and the no-shows so the person can appeal it? I just want to tell you one. Last Wednesday, I went to 200 Church Street, Favorite One. From Favorite One to Humber Regional Hospital, Church Street site, and then down to the clinic at 95 Homewood Avenue. When I get home, there's a no-show on the wall. Oh, you were a no-show at 8:30. I was picked up at 7 o'clock and gone to Favorite One. There's just what I'm trying to say to you is you're putting out no-shows when somebody's already at a clinic. And what I'm trying to say to you is your no-shows for the people who are permanent disabled. They fall on the ground outside, and you're laying on the ground for 3 hours before somebody comes along and says, "Are you okay? Can I call somebody for you?" And they walk away laughing. And this has happened to me. And the fire department comes and picks me up and tries to take me home to the nursing home condominium, and I thank them. Boy, I thank them, and the same with my brothers and sisters at Lakeshore and the Barns. There's nobody better than the Wheel-Trans operator, men and women. They come from a force, and they really, really help you from the time they see you, from the clinic to the bus, to your seat with the nurse, to your destination of home, to the nurse, and they are so happy. I've phoned in so many times and give the reference to the operator, and it's so great. And my second question is, when are you going to go after these people who get on the buses and pay no fares? Last Tuesday morning, I got on the bus from 95 Homewood Avenue, and this guy gets on the bus, Anthony, and I said to the operator, "I'd like to pay my fare." So he brings me the machine, and I pay my fare. And this guy says to me, "You're mental. I've never paid 10 years, and I'm still driving on this thing." How stupid can you be? And I would like you, the board, to come to the TTC Commission and start going after these people, and maybe we can recover some of the money we've lost.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments. We really appreciate them. So we have one question about no-shows and the process for no-shows, and the second question about fares. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that feedback. That's important. So
And it really bothers me when he said I'm mentally retarded.
I'm sorry that happened.
Fair. I've been driving on this for nothing.
yes,
Let's-
certainly,
let's-
fellow customers, that's totally inappropriate, and I'm sorry you had to experience that from a fellow customer. In terms of the no-shows, just to address that first, I'm sorry that you're having those issues, and certainly that is something when you're unable to make a trip for those reasons, the no-show would be waived. And so, my customer service team is here. We'll issue a reminder with that customer service team that, if situations like that happen and you are calling and explaining, that reason for a no-show to happen, that is immediately waived, because, of course, that should never count against you in terms of that. I'm really glad to hear your comments about our operators. That's fantastic to hear. I've heard a lot of good feedback today already about our operators and how fantastic they are and the support that they do give our customers. So that's great to hear.
Well,
Your second
sir,
point about the fare evasion.
I'm suspended for 60 days for 7 no-shows because I'm a diabetic and I do pass out. I'm a type 1 dangerous diabetic. Now come to our census here and say, hey, we've got to help Wayne. He's only 1 in 9,000, 1 in 10,000s at using the Wheel-Trans. And you've got to have a little bit of compassion and a little bit of courage to say, yes, Brenda, yeah, we're going to get somebody out to help you. Nigel, Ken, Vicky, they're all at Lakeshore, and Leslie. Why can't they get somebody to come out and help a person like me? I'm 86 years of age.
Can we let him respond to you? I think that it's really great, and then it sounds to me like there's some things that are specific to you. So let's let Cameron respond generally.
I'm sorry.
And, no, you're okay. I appreciate that there's lots. You've got feelings there, and we totally understand. But it sounds like Cameron should answer sort of generally about the process, and also connect with you about your specific case, and that can happen after the fact. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure that we have that one-on-one connection with the customer service team afterwards to address those specific concerns. The last point about fare evasion. Recently, Wheel-Trans did issue a reminder about our fare payment policy, and it is something that we, the TTC as a whole, are really doubling down on efforts of recent, and we're coming up with a strategy to address some of those concerns about fare evasion. So look for more of that in the future, but we do realize that it is a concern, and we're putting together a plan to address that.
Thanks so much, Cameron. We're going to take one question from online. I've been told that there is one question online, and then I've got one over here. I've got one over here. Then we'll take another one, and then Emily, I see your hand at the back. So we have a question from online.
So the question online is, why do people with permanent disabilities have to reapply? Isn't this a waste of time and money?
Thank you so much.
I certainly can address that question. So it really comes down to one major reason. That's it being equitable under the AODA for everybody, every Wheel-Trans customer, whether you signed up for our service last week or whether you're a customer who signed up in late 2016 under different eligibility. It's very important that it's one eligibility that follows, places people in one of the 3 categories of eligibility as legislated as well. What we can say is we completely don't think it's a waste of time, and close to 14,000 of our pre-2017 customers have come on board and have re-registered as a result.
And just quickly, if I could add to that as well of what Dean said, we actually had a lot of consultation, with ACAT when we came up with, this process of re-registration. When we were, we alerted to the fact that, the AODA stated that, all of our customers needed to be categorized in one of the three categories that we outlined: conditional, unconditional, and temporary. All those customers, as Dean said, that were registered for service prior to 2017, not having an eligibility, we needed to come up with the fairest way to ensure that they did have eligibility, and were categorized into one of those three eligibility categories. So, it was determined it obviously was not fair to use potentially old information, old medical information from an application that may have been submitted 15, 20 years ago originally. That wouldn't accurately reflect current disabilities, and it also was not fair or equitable to just have these legacy customers, we call them, automatically categorized as unconditional customers. So ultimately that decision was made to go through this re-registration process, and we hope that we've provided the supports over the past several years to assist with the re-registration process, which we know can be daunting. But we continue to reach out to customers and support them through this process, which we've seen a big uptick over the last year, as Dean mentioned, with about 5,000 last year, which is fantastic, and not that many to go anymore. So.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Cameron. I want to just remind us that there's lots of people in the room with lots of questions, and so please try and keep your remarks. We didn't set a timer, and I don't want to have to put you on a timer. But if you can see, what I'll do is, if I think that you need to just wrap up, I'm going to put up my hand up. If I feel like I need to verbally say something, I'm just going to gently ask you to sort of wrap up and get to your final remarks. And it's not because we don't want to hear your stories, it's because we really want to make space for everybody that's in the room. And if you have specific concerns about your specific case, I know that there are customer service reps who are here, and they would be happy to listen to your specific things after the session tonight, and we can connect you with them either today or on an ongoing basis. So we'll take the questions from over here, and thanks so much.
We're gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna keep rides door to door. Keep rides door to door. Keep rides door to door.
Thank you so much. I've got some notes from this beautiful three-part harmony, but is there a specific question to come out, or do you want me to just summarize what I heard?
That it's so important that the TTC board not make the family of service mandatory. It's got to be a choice. It's wonderful that the TTC is making itself more accessible and many people will want to use it, and that's great, but it should never be forced. It's dangerous for many people. You can't assume that everyone who uses a power wheelchair is capable of using it in the same way. There are so many differences, and it's got to be a choice, not mandatory.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the 4 points that came out for me that I'll just sort of summarize from the song. One is the force of FOS, and I think that you gentlemen can respond to that. The removal of door-to-door service, having choice in how people travel, and the concern around solo travel being dangerous. So I will turn that over to you, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Denise. That was a very beautiful way of addressing the FOS concerns with mandatory family services. So I just want to reiterate that there are no plans at this time to move family services to be mandatory. And as you correctly have stated, this remains a TTC board decision. We understand, the concerns out there. And that everyone is different in terms of their abilities. And we hope at this time that we continue to provide those supports to those customers right now who choose to travel family of services. And as Angela stated, there are certain individuals who it does work for and have learned once they do get over that hump, that initial anxiety of it, that it does work quite well. And we have, a travel training team that can assist you with that, and a couple of them are here with us tonight, which is great. So I would encourage any of you who have any interest, to speak with them. And as Dean mentioned in his presentation, there are other supports as well, out there with handbooks and a video, to travel family services. But at this time, it remains voluntary, and we hear the feedback today, and we will take that away certainly and consider that in making a decision moving forward regarding family services. And was there a couple other things there that I?
Yeah. So I think that you responded to the force, that it's not being forced, it's not mandatory just yet. Door-to-door service is still something that's being offered. Solo travel, I think, has been addressed a little bit earlier in terms of concern about being dropped off late at night with our first question from Jane. And so I think you've addressed all of it. I think also Angela just wanted to respond briefly as well.
I want to commend the people who were involved in that presentation, because it's a powerful group with a powerful message. And out of that message also comes the notion of, as individuals, we are all different with different abilities to do whatever we can do. And for that reason, I think for me, the most important part is in the application to be really clear and to get help in being really clear that your medical person, whoever it is helping you fill it out, outlines all of the issues that impact upon your ability or disability in using transit. Again, I commend you on the presentation. It brings out a lot of issues. Thank you.
And I appreciate three-part harmony all the time. We had a couple of questions over here. Yeah, I saw your hand, and then we'll take an online question, and then we've got Emily's hand. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I have a question. Has this family of services model been tried in any other modern cities, and has it been found to be successful? And if so, what cities? Was it actually investigated before anyone came up with this harebrained scheme? I'm sorry, I looked at conditional, and it simply does not work. Because I have disabilities that I don't look as though I have disabilities. But has it actually been done, or is this a new thing for Toronto?
That's a great question, and thank you so much for keeping it brief, and I'm going to pass it
And
along.
I have a comment to make afterwards.
Sure, thank you very much for that question. So certainly the legislation, as we talked about, is an Ontario-wide legislation.
Okay.
So that's one of the important things. It's not a Toronto-centric
But
legislation.
has it been tried in any other cities,
I'll
for
get to
example,
that.
in Europe?
Well, again, in Europe, I can't speak to, but something a lot closer to us. It's alive and well and working in York Region. So York Region has been implementing mandatory family of services going on 10 years now.
Right, but are people happy with it?
Well, that I can't comment on
Because
individual
I can
people
tell
being
you,
happy.
you've made no comments about anyone who has given up on the service. I simply gave up on it and take cabs. We hear from this lady here who doesn't mind spending her time traveling all around. But if I want Wheel-Trans, I want to go from here to there. I don't have the time to go to all the different stations and things in order to get where I want to be. So it's not for me an issue to, I'm not going because I'm looking for an adventure on the TTC. Okay, and I'm sure there are lots of us. And for myself, this business about waiting outside for some pickup, I have a problem with cold and heat. And I'm sure many people in wheelchairs have that. So sitting outside for 10 minutes or however long they have to wait, even for able-bodied people who can stamp their feet and get the energy flowing. So it's extremely difficult. I wonder whether these people who've come up with this have ever been disabled or have any idea what it's like.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, just to further answer the question that you raised. So certainly from the perspective of waiting outside. So we talked a little bit about technology and some of the enhancements. So certainly from the position of the mobile app, being able to tell us when, or tell the customer when the vehicle is going to arrive, should eliminate any concerns to have to wait outside.
I have another comment.
Okay.
I have been to England. I'm from England, and I was in England a few years ago. And Wheel-Trans, equivalent of Wheel-Trans, is available to anybody over 18, no questions asked. Okay, that's not so here. Anyone over 60 or 65, depending on the region, I believe it's 60, gets free public transit, which we don't have here. You know, so the service for seniors is absolutely disgraceful to begin with. You know, so there's very little done. I can't imagine what it's like to be in a wheelchair and not able to get around.
Thank you. Oh, Angela would like to respond, and then we're going to
If
take
you
a
have
question.
concerns regarding paying fares, don't talk to the TTC. Talk to your city councillor, but more importantly, talk to your member of parliament, talk to your member of the provincial legislature, because that's where the funding comes. Toronto, the TTC is more dependent on the fare box than any other organization, I believe, in North America. So it's because they're not getting the government funding the way that other cities do.
Thanks, Angela. So I think we either have an online question or we have a comment card to read out. And then I see your hand, Emily, and then we'll move around the room again. Is there an online question or a comment card? Yeah.
So a question from a comment card. Are operators not supposed to post no-show signs when they miss a customer?
Okay, so Cameron's going to take that question.
Yeah, so yeah, easy answer, absolutely. That's exactly what should happen. So if they miss a customer, that no-show post is posted up, you know, at the doorway where they are supposed to be picking up the customer. And as you know, the gentleman referenced before, if there's an issue where you know the no-show you know was posted and there was a misconnection or an issue for getting there, then absolutely encourage you to call customer service, and those life happens points can be waived for certain situations.
But Cameron, when you call customer service, you can be on hold forever and never get through to them. Yes. And that's the God's honest truth. I was on hold for 5 hours last Wednesday 8 in the morning to almost the afternoon. And I still didn't get through, Cameron. And the no-show was, it shouldn't have been there.
So, you know, I have
The
something.
doctor come out and said to the operator, can you wait just 5 more minutes to I get the tubey grip on? And he walked away from the doctor saying, my family is more important than your client, and walked away. Now, what is that, Cameron?
We're gonna just take some more questions, and I do
Yeah.
hear your frustration, and 5 hours is a really long time. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, and definitely some follow-up with your specific case. We've got a question from Emily here, and I see your hand next to her. I see your hand.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to those of you that were here for the FOS. I am one of the ones that tried for 3 years to use FOS. I am in a power wheelchair. I'm also legally deafblind. And I can tell you, it's a complete failure. The biggest problem of the FOS and of us using conventional, I used to be 90% conventional transit, 10% wheel trans. And now it's flipped in the last 4 years. It's now 80-20, 80% wheel trans, 20% conventional. I have a job. Wheel trans, I can't depend on to get to work or get home from work reliably. There is no priority given for those of us who are employed. There is no priority given for those of us going to medical appointments. Numerous times I have ended up on a bus with people on Sundays who are full of perfume, and my asthma is choking me, and I'm stuck in a ProMaster where I can't open a window and breathe, unlike the Old Friendly, unlike the Elf, and unlike the Arbok, the 700s. I'm sick and tired of people with disabilities being treated as an afterthought. Why is it in 2024 that we don't have the same customer service hours as the conventional system? Why is it that conventional system able-bodied people can get 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and we're lucky if we get 8 to 4. And on top of that, I've waited on that line for an hour and a half at times, and they don't know what they're talking about. Half the time they'll say, oh, we'll call reservations. No. Like today, I was coming down from the Toronto Congress Center at Martin Grove and Dixon. I tried booking my ride last night. I still didn't have a ride by 2 o'clock today. My wheelchair is getting old. I have 60% capacity of batteries. And I was screwed over by Wheel-Trans to come to this. My last point, if you want to deal with customer service, use the website and do the Let's Chat during their wannabe customer service hours. And the app is not properly accessible. You can't do nearly as much on the app as you can the website. And my last point is this. Our biggest problem getting around, my top 3, number 1, driver attitudes on the conventional system. People's attitudes on the conventional system. Why is it on a daily basis that I have to literally have verbal fist fights to get on a bus? Even today, why is it that drivers are allowed not to get out of their seat to help us on these overloaded buses? The commission, they've put their loading standards even higher. That excludes us because drivers bypass us on a daily basis. Weston Road, Jane, Eglinton West, the games that are being played are disgusting. Who is going to be held accountable? Why is it the Wheel-Trans users are told, oh, conventional system is great. I'm sorry, Dean. I trust you. I like you. I respect you all. But your numbers are dead wrong. I have been attacked by so many people. I've had someone try and choke me out at Yonge and Bloor Station in that tiny elevator. It is not safe for us. We were harassed, we are bullied, and we're treated like garbage. And operators playing games to not allow us on. Even some of your Wheel-Trans operators, the newer ones, they play their music on the MP3 player or their Bluetooth. And we ask them to change it because it might have derogatory, disgusting language. And we get told, oh, well, it's my job site. You can deal with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks for those thoughts. the thoughts that I heard, customer service hours, safety, and the accessibility of customer service, the app and the website.
Emily, thank you very much. Your participation in these is always very valuable, and I appreciate that. And I know you're very passionate, and we appreciate that passion because a lot of good comes out of it. So just to try to address some of the stuff that you mentioned, absolutely, that's not acceptable. We have a no scent policy, so the perfume that you are smelling, please let us know. Our drivers also should be on top of that immediately, so you do not have to be subjected to that once you get on board. They absolutely, a customer should not be allowed to board the vehicle if that is indicated. So. Yeah, so let us address that. We'll double down on that. I appreciate you letting us know about that. Customer service hours. I'm happy to report that the board supported a request that we had for 4 additional customer service reps in the 2024 budget, which is fantastic news. They are just coming on board now. Loden and Levinson are here today, and they'll be able to tell you more specifics of that. Yeah, I know. So what that does, Emily, is allows us to increase, for now, a first step of the amount of agents that are on the phone at one time. So when we talk about these wait times, and we want to bring those down first, we will take that back away in terms of having even additional staff. The additional staff would allow us then to expand the hours. We don't want to expand hours at the expense of wait times, because if we expanded the hours with the amount of bodies we have now, wait times would suffer. So it's a step-by-step process. We understand, we hear you, we understand it's not compatible to the conventional systems customer service hours, so that's something that we certainly will take away. My team is here today listening to this, so it's something that we'll look to address in the 2025 budget. We hear your concerns about the app. We know there aren't all the features that are in the self-booking website, so we do understand that. There are a couple features specifically that the app offers, and most specifically, the Where's My Ride feature of the app is quite useful for some customers on certain vehicles. We're working to have all the vehicles added to that, but we are happy to hear feedback consistently on the app in order to make further improvements with that. Conditional driver attitudes, not getting out of the seat, we've heard that before. We actually have Dean doing a big campaign with the conventional system right now in terms of bus operators, and maybe I'll just quickly, I'll quickly just hand it over to Dean. I know he's doing a lot of work on the conventional side with that, so Dean, if you want to just talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Cameron, and Emily. Thank you for your comments. So certainly, I mean, what you're describing are, the drivers are absolutely trained. So the training does exist. The advisory committee is also a part of the operator training. So that being said, let's start there. The training is being provided. So what you're describing is individuals who may not be following the rules and policies, et cetera. So of course, that's very important for us to know. It's easier now to jot down what operator may not have followed procedure. I believe their badge numbers are as well. If you're legally blind, fair enough. Fair enough. You raise a good point. At the end of the day, though, there is an expectation, certainly from TTC, that our operators do accommodate customers in a respectful manner and following procedure. And as Cameron mentioned, we are working along with our travel trainers to put up notices, reminders in a place that's highly visible at each division as a reminder to a customer as they're leaving the division that there are individuals that require additional supports and that there are procedures in place that people should be following to accommodate our customers who are using mobility devices or who can have mobility challenges. But
Dean, I had one person tell me last Wednesday.
Hold on one second.
I will never help you.
Hold on one second, because there's lots of people with comments in the room, and I appreciate that, and there's lots of people. So I have the gentleman with the Yankees hat, and then I had a lady over here with a sparkly top, and then I see you with your cap and your headphones on. So. And if you have blue comment cards, you can hold them up, and the moderator and the folks will come around and collect them if you need to. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Chris Degas, and this comment is for Dean. Some of the things that, how are you, Dean?
Good, Chris.
That you were talking about. you said that when there's a service interruption on the subway, that you could approach and you're going to miss your connecting ride, and you do miss your connecting ride, that you could approach a customer service agent and they will help navigate and find you another ride. The reality is that that does not work like that, because you are always told that there are no rides available, or that you have to wait another 2 hours or an hour and a half for them to get a vehicle. And using your own words, that is not equitable, and that is not an industry standard of what a waiting time is. Industry standard should be less than 10 minutes. So if we miss our ride, we should be able to get a Wheel-Trans ride back at that station or wherever we missed it within 10 minutes. Number two, you talked about videos training us how to use FOS. The videos should be for the general community on how to interact with people with disabilities, on how to let us board first, on what the blue button does on the ramps on the streetcars, and what maybe a person with a disability might require on a bus, like the seat being pulled up, those types of things. And lastly, I've heard it many times today that it's optional. FOS is optional. It's optional. The fear is that it's going to become forced, and FOS will no longer mean family of services, but forced on subway. That's the
Thank you. I just thank you so much, and I will let the gentleman respond. I just want to remind us all that we've got about 15 minutes left, and so for the next folks who are going to speak, please just remember to keep your comments short, because we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. So, gentlemen, I will let you respond.
So I'll tackle some of the stuff. Chris, thank you again for your feedback as well. So no, it's an excellent idea about the videos. That's something that we should pursue. You're right. Sometimes proper etiquette and assisting individuals and first on, last off is something that the general public should be more made aware of. It's backpacks, all the things that you mentioned. That's certainly something that goes hand in hand with accessibility. So I appreciate that, and that is something that we certainly should consider as part of our tools and assistance for customers that are traveling.
They don't enforce first on, last off.
Emily, I would really appreciate it if you let them finish, because we've got, and I know you've got lots of great feedback, and I apologize, but we're in the last 15 minutes. Thanks so much. And also, Angela just wanted to remind us that there is a campaign on backpacks right now. So.
Thank you. And again, with respect to the FOS being optional, all we can say is that this is part of the reason that we're having these consultations. We certainly know that the chair is very interested, as we are, in getting the feedback in terms of where we're at with family of services and what the future might look like. So what we can say, what Cam and I can say, it is optional at this point in time. It's a board decision should any changes to that happen, and what those changes might look like before that would happen. So it's a long process. I'll turn over to Cameron to talk a little bit about this notion of on-demand service and a 10-minute wait and some of the challenges there that might.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. So yeah, absolutely, Chris, we understand that, and it can be difficult. Where unforeseen issues, come up, and you ride in the subway, and then, you're expected to, find your way with a customer service agent or collector, say, in the subway station, and for a ride to show up right away. Our hope with dispatch through that and through what we're training our dispatch folks to do is to be as proactive as possible. So we actually see the delay, we see the issue before you arrive. So we understand that there are going to be times when that's not possible, but through the systems that we're putting in place, we want to interject and contact the customer or prevent the customer from completing the FOS trip, starting the FOS trip, and going into a out of service elevator, an issue out there, so that they don't get into that situation. If they do, inevitably that can happen. What that will do was, if we can avoid kind of some of those last minute issues, it will give us more vehicles available to pull to be able to assist and pick someone up in 10 minutes or whatnot, when they are stranded. We also are in the process right now of reviewing, you know, our on-time performance and our statistics, and you know, more, you know, later in the year to come on that. But it's something that we're doing an internal review on, and we hope to be able to improve, you know, our guarantee and our target for our customers in terms of on-time performance. So more on that a little later in the year for our customers.
Thank you. Thanks so much. We have a question from this lady here, and then to you in the back. Yep, absolutely.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
I'll try to be brief.
Please
It's
do.
difficult for me. I am unconditional, and like a lot of people here, I think we should just drop this conditional stuff and just let everybody take door to door who wants it. Never mind asking us about travel training. I don't tell sighted people how and when to drive their vehicle. So enough already. And I find it quite interesting that I used to get asked if I wanted travel training once every few months, but ever since January of this year, I've been getting asked all the time. And I'm going to tell you, I don't want it. And I'm going to go public. My name is Jennifer Griffith, so anyone who wants to know, I don't want travel training. Besides, I have a wonderful organization where I get proper cane travel and all the tips and tricks to use, and I can visibly relax. But so I get my own version of travel training. I don't want it. And I'll be polite, but if someone wants to get a little pushy with me, I will have to mirror their behavior, and as much as I don't want to. But no travel training for me.
Thanks. Thanks for that comment.
Thank you. And just to quickly address that, we certainly will take your name down, and we'll ensure that on your file is placed not to ask any more times for travel training. So we do apologize if you've been asked more than once. So we'll make that change to your file. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. And we will take this final comment from the gentleman at the back.
So my question is, have you guys paid attention to the taxis that you send out at all? Because for manual chairs and for power chairs, most of us can't use them. Before I got pushed to conditional of only using the buses, I was on taxis as well. I literally went through one of their platforms because of how heavy my chair is. Are you guys even checking those taxis at all for weight limits?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can handle it.
Yeah.
So yes, we do consistently audit our taxis to be compliant with all safety standards, including their ramps. So absolutely. And if you're finding that there's an issue in any way with accessing an accessible taxi, then we can have that addressed in your profile. We can not have you travel in accessible taxis anymore, and just travel on Wheel-Trans buses. So there's options for that. So if you want to stick around after, we can handle that with our team. They can take your information away and work on it, or call our customer service team. But we can absolutely look on that.
I'm conditional for just buses. But the problem is, because I'm only conditional to buses, it makes it harder for me to get to school. It makes it harder for me to get to my medicals, because now I'm relying on just the buses instead of having another vehicle available. So this is what I'm saying is the taxis that you guys are sending out, a good chunk of them are not safe for a manual chair, let alone a power chair.
Okay.
Like, at all.
Let me take that back. I know that our manager of contracted service is certainly watching this, and I'll have that conversation with him and follow up, with his team. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are going to wrap up very shortly. Angela's going to say a couple of words, and then I'm going to hand it over to Cameron to wrap us up completely. But I wanted to just remind us, as I promised you that I would, that there is a way to give your feedback outside of this. First of all, we have Thursday's session, and Thursday's session will happen in this space, this exact same space again, from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m., as well as you can access it online. It's a hybrid session, and you can ask questions the same way that the folks online have been able to ask questions today. And you also can use the survey, and the survey can be accessed at ttc.ca, as well as on the Wheel-Trans booking site. And you can also use the telephone if that's easier for you, and you can get at that 416-393-4111, and that's a really nice way to also be able to give feedback through the survey. So I'm going to hand it over to Angela to give a final remark, and then we'll hand it over to Cameron to conclude the session this evening.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for your feedback, because you've given suggestions that are important for Wheel-Trans to hear, and I appreciate hearing from you.
Thanks so much, Angela, and to Cameron.
Thank you, Denise. So I don't want to be too long here, but I just first want to thank my fellow panel members and thank Denise for walking us through all of this. But most importantly, I want to thank you all. I can hear the passion in this room, which is fantastic. We all care deeply about Wheel-Trans and about accessibility at the TTC. So we share that same passion, and I can tell you that myself and throughout my team, we have that same dedication to improving accessibility at the TTC and improving the service that Wheel-Trans offers you. So we do a lot of work. I have a fantastic team. We meet regularly. We use these sessions. We use the customer service feedback surveys that we do, and we take action based on those. So I encourage you to keep engaging with Wheel-Trans, keep attending public forums when we hold them. As I mentioned earlier, every fall the TTC holds an annual forum on accessible transit. That's a great forum as well to submit your feedback. But we really do use that feedback, and in this session as well, we will take all your concerns and your comments, and we will build that into our business plans and some of our performance goals going forward. And it certainly shapes the business that we'll be running in the future. So thank you again for coming out. This has been very important for us to hear from you again, and we look forward to connecting with you all again in the future. So thank you.
Cameron, how do we get a hold of you when we can't get a hold of anybody else?
We can take that offline, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you.